So good morning. Thank you for coming. I know it's very early. We're going to have a pretty good, rousing show for you. My name is Gary Tyerman. I'm the CEO of Univa. I'm only the MC, so you don't have to listen to me other than introduce people. So I'll show you the agenda for today. Really quickly, we're going to go through quick introduction. Rob Lalonde will walk us through. He's the general manager of NavOps, which is a product line for Univa. He'll talk a little bit about industry trends. We'll get into a what's new in AWS from Ian Coley. Get a latest news from NVIDIA from Duncan Poole. And then Bill Bryce, VP of Products at Univa, will go through a cloud bursting demo. May or may not involve distributed TensorFlow because it's a little bit fussy. And then we'll do a little quick panel where we'll ask some questions. And if there's questions from you folks, certainly we'll get those in there as well. So with no further ado, Mr. Lalonde.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. Again, my name is Rob Lalonde, and I'm responsible for the cloud product line. Into the slides here. I see a lot of customers and partners in the crowd, so some of this preliminary stuff will be fairly familiar to everyone. So Univa has been in the grid engine business, and you kind of know us as the grid engine company. We've been doing this since 2011. We've made a lot of progress, so we get a lot of really interesting announcements today and interesting progress with the products. So we're going to talk a lot about our cloud initiative. That's the theme for today. From the standpoint of the company and where we're at, we have 250 enterprise customers now. That's growing every day. We've got integrated with thousands of applications, about 2.7 million cores. That says 2.5 there, but we've been busy, so we're sitting on top of about 2.7 million cores. Mostly on-premise today. All those customers are thinking about taking those to the cloud. That's why the cloud guys are willing to come to this presentation. So it's quite exciting from that perspective. And we have customers getting into some extreme scale. And we're going to talk about a prototype that we did that demonstrates some of that extreme scale. But you can see there we have a customer running 7 million jobs a day. And we did some really cool stuff Friday if you saw the blog. And we're going to talk about that in a second. Product lines, as I said, you're very familiar with Grid Engine already. We've spent a lot of time over the years modernizing that technology and bringing to bear things like containers, Docker and Singularity support, strong support for GPUs and some of the stuff that our customers need there, REST API. So it's much very modern architecture for those of you that might be familiar with the product from the Sun Microsystems days. It's kind of night and day. But we've also spent a lot of time and money on our NavOps product line, and that's our cloud and cloud-native strategy. So we have solutions for Kubernetes. We have a cloud provisioning management solution that we're going to talk about in detail, and Bill Bryce, our VP Products, is going to get into that in a lot more detail and get into a demo of that as well. So most of this will center around our NavOps launch product. From a market perspective standpoint, we talked to our customers last year about what they were doing with cloud, 2 years ago, what they were doing with cloud. It was almost nobody. Couple customers, a little bit of progress. Boom, this year, we surveyed our customers, 61% are in the planning process or actually in that deployment process. So really huge shift in thinking and activity with those cloud customers. They're all heading in that direction now. It's very exciting. It's keeping us very busy. I can tell you our product people are jammed with implementations. We surveyed those 61% and said, how many of you are planning to deploy, or how are you planning to deploy? For the ones that we're actually already deploying. So that's the 16% of the 61. I'm probably confusing with all these numbers, but 70% of that 16% are going to do hybrid cloud, 30% are doing cloud only. NavOps Launch supports both models, and we saw a lot of customers doing actually both models as well. So they might start with a dedicated cloud, get their feet wet, put a departmental application into the cloud in a dedicated fashion, but in reality, their big HPC cluster is not going to go to a dedicated cloud. In most cases, it's going to be a hybrid cloud. That's the way they can take the peaks off their existing clusters or use the cloud to get after specialized resources, like things like GPUs and big memory machines and things like that. So a real shift in our customer base is the net of it, which is very exciting for us. I just want to talk about one customer. This is Wharton School. It's actually a customer of our partners that are presenting here as well. So they're using NVIDIA GPUs in the cloud, and they're doing this on Amazon. So it's a great case study, given who we have presenting today. Wharton has a relatively small cluster, so they had a lot of backlog from the researchers wanting to get work done. They used NavOps Launch to allow them to burst their existing cluster into the cloud and get extra capacity. and they're bursting upwards of 1,000 instances on some days when they get really busy. They used to have GPUs on premise. They got outdated. The minute they deprovisioned those, of course, they got a call probably 15 minutes later saying we need GPUs. So now when they want to get those specialized resources, they go to the cloud to get those GPUs. So typical of our customers, they're either taking the peaks off those clusters and using that up in the cloud to get the additional resources they need, or they're using the cloud, again, as I said, for specialized resources. So that's Wharton. Very seamless bursting technology. Once you get all the policies in place, it's very much a composable architecture. There's no shifting of dials and levers every time you want nodes. The system detects what Grid Engine's doing, when it needs those types of nodes in the cloud, what the workloads are required, and it automatically starts to grow that cloud, push the workloads up there. When things get less busy, it'll automatically start reaping and shutting down those nodes in the cloud. And that can happen all automatically without any intervention. From the standpoint of the big scale demonstration we talked about, we ran this Friday night a little while ago. Amazon came to us and said, we want to do something in the EDA space. We have some customers looking at extreme scale in this area. What do you think about running 1 million cores in our cloud? And we were like, yeah, we can do that. I forgot to ask the engineers if we could, but they were very willing to give it a go. So there was a lot of learnings here. We had to push some limits on our product, and we learned a lot about spot fleets, and we had to push some Amazon limits as well. So we worked together, and we managed to achieve this 1 million core, just a little over 1 million cores, Friday night. So it's pretty exciting. You can see the chart for what we actually achieved. So 1,015,022 instances at the end of the day. So it's just over 55,000 nodes. Took about 2.5 hours to build this cluster. And then we started loading up jobs onto it in the order of millions of jobs. And as I said before, we've got customers running 7 million jobs. So we're no stranger to running lots and lots of workloads. What was new to us was getting up to 1 million cores in the cloud. So we're pretty excited about that. We're going to talk a little bit more about our next steps on this project later. We did this in 3 availability zones in Ireland. We did get a call late that night saying, hey, maybe you guys want to tone this down. We've got other customers that want to do real work as well. We had 56,000 instances going. We used 16 different instance types. We did add support for spot fleets when we did this project. So we pushed a lot of limits. We had a lot of fun, and we got some exciting results. And seems to be a lot of interesting talk at the show as well. Oh, question, sorry.
Where was the QMaster running?
QMaster was running in the cloud, and it was one QMaster. So unlike a lot of the projects you might have seen where they did these extra large clusters, they might have used multiple clusters within that 1 million cores. We did one Grid Engine cluster, so that's very unique, and that Grid Engine cluster was able to handle all the 1 million cores.